Good afternoon to all of you, those who have joined. This is Dr. Nihal Anwar Siddiqui, Professor, Health, Safety, Environment and Civil Engineering. Welcome to technical webinar on road to sustainable development. Today we have our panelist, Mr. Devinder Gill and Mr. Zafar Hayat. So I think I will be taking help from these two prominent persons to tell us about how we can go to achieve sustainable development in today's time and future also. So I will start by introducing Mr. Devinder Gill. Mr. Devinder Gill is actually basically a mechanical engineer by qualification. He is qualified membership examination of Institution of Fire Engineers, also having MBA in disaster management. So he's having a very good combination and pursuing his PhD. He was part of R&D organization for 17 years, where he rose to the position of Joint Director, Scientist E. Now he's working with Delhi Metro Corporation since 2007. And his present designation is General Manager, who is looking after safety in construction projects like places like Delhi, Kochi, Jaipur, and Mumbai. Totally, he's having around 29 years of experience related to fire science and explosive safety, pertaining to safety, defense needs, as well as management in metro projects of major cities of India. So having very good experience. Before being elected as chairman of Delhi State Center, he serves as honorary secretary of DSC from 2012 to 2014. He's also general secretary of Northern India branch of Institution of Engineers. He was conferred with All India Best Safety Engineer Award in 2012 by Safety and Quality Forum for his outstanding work related to safety in engineers. And during his tenure with R&D, Defense R&D, he participated in search and rescue operation. After January 2001 earthquake tragedy in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, he was also assigned a special task to conduct fire safety study for forest fire of Shivalik Range, Garhwal Hills, slum cluster fires at Yamuna. He has also received specialist training in metro construction safety at Tokyo, Japan, and Dubai Metro. So, welcome, Mr. Gill. I hope that all the participants will enjoy your presence. Then we have Mr. Zafar, who is presently working with company like Schlumberger. Our alumni having around 6-year experience, started, I think, working with the Focus Energy in Jaisalmer. Then he shifted to Superior Energy, and now he's working as a safety engineer with Schlumberger Asia. In addition to his BTech and MTech qualification, he is having certification like OSAS 18001, NIBOSH, IGC, IOSH. So welcome, Zafar. Welcome again to UPS, where you will be talking about road to sustainability. When we see the topic, which is actually talking about sustainable development is actually you meet your requirement of today's, but you don't disturb your future requirements. So whenever you do any project, anything you do, you should have a sustainable development concept. So for the people who have joined, it is all the industry, they have a sustainable development department, or they call as a sustainability office. So everywhere it is there. So I think when we talk about civil engineer or fire safety engineers, they are actually nation builders. One side, fire and safety engineer considered as saviors. And when we talk about current situation, when we are dealing with a pandemic, the contribution of both the engineers is required for better growth and development of our nation. This pandemic has restrained all of us and lowered the pace of work. As you are well aware, we are talking with Zoom, otherwise you may have a face-to-face interaction. And also made us realize that sustainability has a key role in development of a nation, as it prevents loss even the work has stopped. So we should have this type of concept. So there is a need to enhance our system so we can cope up with the need of R, and it requires a collaboration work performed by both civil as well as fire and safety engineers. So all of these aspects combined in a coherent manner, and rapid sustainable development can be assured, making sustainable development more precise in conceptual understanding. So I think I will start with Mr. Gill, who is looking after this Delhi Metro. I think a lot of construction projects are going on. My first question with Mr. Gill, what are your lessons which you have learned during COVID-19 lockdown period? And when we talk about uh, role of HSC and civil engineers, and how you can connect that they have played a very important role while we were under this COVID-19 period. So, Mr. Gill, if you can.
Thank you, Dr. Siddiqui, for the introduction. And the question what you have asked is that what are the lessons which we have learned? We all know that we all, as a nation, has been under lockdown, and we have seen the effect of this lockdown on our day-to-day life. Now, that basic need, if I take from the perspective of a health and safety engineer and a civil engineer, the basic need of a food, then clothing on your body, and then finally a roof over your head. Now, this is what has been highlighted again during this period. For your survival, we have seen these poor migrant people who have been forced to walk on city roads, traveling to their villages or their hometowns, because large number of them did not have a shelter above them. They were living in rented accommodation, and most of the time the landlord also did not support them. So they were having no employment guarantee, there were no possibility, and they were forced to actually walk on the road to reach to their destination. And then we also have another challenge when we have cyclones in the two cities, in the two states of Odisha and West Bengal. And recently, when we had the other cyclone coming from Arabian Sea, the need of a shelter above you, a roof above your head, which you can say of your own, has been felt. So the biggest lesson which has been learned is a very important requirement of a economic housing, what we have been particularly talking about, EWS, economically weaker section, housing for them. Our government has very ambitious plans, but somehow there have been no headway on this. Whatever we have been able to achieve, still there is a tremendous amount of scope which is available. So for all civil engineer, I see a very big area where there will be a lot of impetus now. People, when they will return back after things will get normal, will also look for a small shelter which they can say of their own. So this is a very big lesson which has been learned. We all also have now realized the importance of health and safety and their role in this sustainable development. You see, many of us have very happily been living indoors with all the support which is required in terms of water, in terms of electrical supply, in terms of internet connectivity, which is so important these days, which has been able to keep us engaged as well as productive. And all these organizations have been able to continue performing their role uninterrupted. There is a tremendous amount of inputs and tremendous amount of hard work which has been given by the engineers, those health and safety engineers, to make sure that these organizations continue to perform uninterruptedly. You see, the mantra is you survive when you are safe.
Yeah,
If you are not safe, you will not survive.
think-
So in this area of pandemic, you see, these are the very big lessons which have been learned, that everybody talks about safety. Now, if you are walking on road and if you are not wearing a mask, a nose mask, somebody walking along you will definitely stop for a while and remind you that, gentlemen, you have forgotten. That is the amount of safety awareness and consciousness which has come. So I feel, as a safety officer, as a safety professional, I see a tremendous change in the overall outlook or overall approach of the whole nation and its citizen. One more thing which is also very, very important is that this particular experience has also taught us one thing, that now in every of the house, all professionals are looking for a space to have their own office. So today, for the last 50, 60 days, many of us were forced to work from our residence, where I don't have the comfort and the minimum required facilities for running an office. I think the whole civil engineering concept will also change now, where when you are designing a home for you, you will also look for a corner or a space which can also accommodate a small office where you can work efficiently. Today, I know many of my friends and colleagues are forced to work from either their drawing rooms or sitting on their bed or on a dining table. They are working because the culture of having a study table at home, once your kids are grown up and are not studying, is actually has been forgotten. So you look for an absolutely change of philosophy. So what I feel is that this dependency on technology has to make that you have to be safe. So safety, the health and safety engineer's role and civil engineer's role, the kind of supply chain uh, which has been maintained. None of us, those who were comfortable in terms of resources, have lived a deprived life
Dilsab,
during
one
this.
more thing I think you have touched about this disaster due to cyclone or maybe earthquake, and at the same time we have witnessed one gas leak in Vishakhapatnam. So
Industrial.
how you connect again the requirement of civil engineers uh,
You see,
pre-disaster or post-disaster, and the role of safety engineers in saving the life of different people in industries, and yeah.
you see, there are many industrial processes which you cannot all of a sudden shut down,
Okay.
and there are also the same thing applies when you resume your work. So when we were resuming our construction work, we also were fully aware that most of your plant and machinery, your gantry cranes, your batching plants, your tower cranes, your construction vehicle have been standing idle
Mhm.
for good 6-8 weeks
Right.
without getting any kind of preventive maintenance or checking and monitoring by the competent team.
Okay.
And when you decide for resumption, and if you straight away go for operation of these machines, you are bound to face challenges. In fact, many of the organization, many of the authorities, whether they were union government or state governments or many professional bodies, came out with their guidelines and standard operating procedures for resumption of work. Most of the time the focus was on prevention of spread of disease, but a very important aspect of a risk assessment and the need of health and safety guideline was not attended. And we had tragedies like gas leaks, we had tragedies like explosion of pressure vessels, where the role of an health and safety officer was so important to actually do a dynamic risk assessment because of the situation. You see,
Right.
you have already got a very voluminous document, which is your plant risk assessment. You have got SOPs, but when you have in extraordinary situation like this prolonged lockdown, you needed a revised risk assessment, a revised inspection. This is what has been now been felt, and now large organization, many organizations have learned lessons. They are going for a revised risk assessment, a very thorough inspection of their facilities, and then attempting resumption. In fact, many organizations are ready to work at low efficiency with reduced manpower in phased manner, coming up to the complete production capabilities so that they don't meet any kind of accident during this resumption. So the processes have a defined SOP for shutdown. Similarly, the same kind of SOP for your resumption. So what we have seen in our country is that wherever we have not been able to give that much of importance to that resumption SOP, we have faced challenges. So there, I think the role of health and safety engineers have been very, very crucial. And I know many shining example where these health and safety engineers have worked hand in hand with the process engineers and have been able to bring back the system on feet again.
Gilsab, my question again with you that is there any limitation for these fire and safety engineer, any sector limitation, or what do you think because of your experience, or they are required in all the sector, any sector you talk about, maybe consultancy, you talk about maybe a bank, maybe we can talk about hospitals. So my question that whether it is limited to certain sector or it is widely required, or you can say all sector need this particular branch. So what is your opinion with your
You
30-year
see,
experience in this line?
like all societies and all nations, we have also learned through our experiences. You see, Bhopal has been a turning point in our country for considering the safety, consciousness, and commitment for chemical industry and hazardous industries. Upahar tragedy, that cinema hall fire, has been a turning point for the need of a safety input or a safety commitment for places of public assembly. And last 2 decades in our country have seen a focus change in the uh, concept of safety. Now it is every walk of life, even a person who is coming to your doorstep, delivering goods to you, an online service like you order food, you order utility items. So when they deliver that item to you, you as an receiver also are conscious that whether I am exposed to any kind of risk. So this pandemic has made me so much of conscious about it. But before this, if I take 2019 now, if we talk about March onward, but if I talk about, I said 2 decades back or 1 decade back, there has been a tremendous focus change in terms of how we actually approach our safety requirement. And now I don't feel there is any limit for this profession. And they we have been able to venture out in everything which affect life, your and my day-to-day life. Anything which affects your and my day-to-day life is important, like the connectivity, the internet connectivity. I know you have traveled few kilometers to reach to a place to get a better connectivity, to have a better interaction for next say 45 minutes or 1 hour or so. So that all these facilities or all these logistics availability would be determined by how safely these are being managed and run. And that is what is the mantra for the future, that if you are safe, you survive. You survive a difficult time, you survive a tough competition. So I don't see that there is any any branding or any kind of zeroing of any trade or any field of work where the safety will be confined, that we will be only for railways, or we will be only for road, or we will be only required for aviation sector. We will be in every walk of life, whether it is hospitality, whether it is retails, everything in our life now these days, right from a citizen to a professional, will be required.
Thanks, Mr. Gill. I think I will ask one more question from you. That I think in during this lockdown period, or after this lockdown is going to, I think they are saying that uh, opening of lockdown phase one, or maybe uh, they are using different terminology. So again, I realize that now people are mainly traveling by road. They are trying to avoid traveling by train, maybe just to keep the social distance, maintaining the social distance while they are planning to go by air. So the best option, which I am realizing that it is a road. So what do you think that although we are making number of roads in last 5 years or 10 years time, whether you think that now more highways are going to come based on this requirement, based on the current scenario or post COVID?
Yeah, definitely. There has to be now interconnectivity, a big interconnectivity. You see, what has happened is now for this particular threat of coronavirus, now the two major aspects are, one is the time of exposure, how
Mhm.
much time you are exposed to. So, if you have to travel a long distance, say if you have to travel 1200 kilometers, probably people will not prefer road, they will go by air because that reduces the exposure time. But if you are traveling small distances, you will definitely try to travel in a mode of transport which is not crowded. So public transport will definitely face huge challenge wherever globally the public transport has been opened up. The issue has been the ridership, the how many people will come back to that public transport. So people using their own mode of transport, and then connectivity to their place of work, to their place of living is very, very crucial. So major thrust on interconnectivity of the whole country through this road network will be very crucial. The other thing which I also feel which is going to happen is that people will not be very confidently now going far away from their place of living. So people will try to work in a zone where it is 400 or 500 kilometer away, where they can drive down in 8 hours depending upon the condition of road and reach to their hometowns, rather than working on a 200 kilometer 2000 kilometer away or 1500 kilometer away, where driving back will be a difficulty. So roads definitely will be connectivity from their place of work to place of uh, their own residence or their hometowns will be a very crucial uh, deciding factor for their taking up jobs.
Okay,
Large number of people I know
right.
would prefer to live in a 500-kilometer radius.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Devendra Gill. I think now I will move to Mr. Zafar. Zafar, what is your experience during this lockdown period? You may be connected with your colleagues, fire safety engineers. That what was their role? Whether they were really important to the industry, because we are getting all the supplies, right? We were getting all the essential items in our home, maybe by online shopping or maybe by delivery. So what do you think that what was our fire and safety engineer roles to see that everything is coming to to our home and that is all safe? Because a lot of things required while you are producing something, uh, while everything is going, raw material is going online, and people who are working in the industry, they should also be safe. So what is your experience? Any talk with your colleagues, with your friends that what they were doing? Yeah, Zafar. Over to you.
Yeah, okay. So I will like to add in this the colleagues, those who are working, they are presently they are working in the diversified area of companies. Like some of them are working in L&T Constructions or ABB Group. Many of my colleagues are in oil and gas industries as well. So yes, during the lockdown time, the first lockdown time was there. So some of the companies was, that was locked down for a very short period of time, and people, those who are working with the associated with the essential services, they were still were working, either they were working from home or they were at the site itself. I myself was I myself was at my home that time, but was trying to communicate from working from my home itself. So during this COVID-19, the safety officers, those who were at the locations, uh, Gil sir told that we were working on the risk assessments, because now we have to add, because COVID-19 itself is a risk. Now we have to add it in the risk assessment, and then we have to see that what can be the consequences. So
Okay. Zafar,
interestingly,
I think
yeah.
you have given the right answer. Maybe for the benefit of the people who have joined, that what are the different role the safety engineer, fire safety engineers play? And one more, I think that is the most important thing, that sometimes people feel that it is a firefighting. So this is a myth. Some of the people are having it's a firefighting. So my request to you that please try to highlight the role of fire and safety engineer and how they are benefited to the society. And with my experience, with your 6 year experience, what is your experience getting a job in fire safety field is good, better, or what you can say that it is not a worthful, whatever is your opinion because of your experience which you have.
See, for my audience, first of all, I will say that most of them, it is just a myth that people think that when they are working as an HSC professional or fire safety professionals in the companies, they don't get a good amount of package. So that is just a myth. I would say in HSE, there is quite a good career opportunity, not only in abroad, but also in India. And when we talk about the safety management system in a company, so most of the companies have now realized and recognized that safety management system is directly or indirectly preventing the loss for their organization. Suppose if we talk about a company and the rate of incidents are quite high, so the probability is there that they can lose their business from the client. So yes, HSE personals, they don't benefit the company directly, but indirectly they save a lot of company revenue. And apart from this, no
Zafar,
matter.
I think I will stop you here. Uh, there's a Factories Act that talk about 1948 Act, which talks about that every industry should have a fire and safety engineer. So what is your experience once you are working with the industries, your friends are working with different industries, different types of industries? Uh,
Mhm.
because I have placed number of students who are working with even banks, insurance companies, mining sector, oil and gas, leather, textile, ABB group. So I found that they are working all across sector, right? So what is the this Factories Act is playing a very important role, or it is a moral responsibility of the industries that they are coming up and they are trying that they should have a safe industry, or they should go for a sustainable development. So what is your observation of industries professionals, or you can say that what is your thinking on this line?
I will start this answer with now the government has also done a mandatory position for HSC personnel in an organization, and in most of the companies, whether it is of any range from low range to a high range, the companies are now they are keeping safety professionals as a part of their organization. I will just quote some of the name of the companies where my colleagues, my seniors, my juniors are working. And you can see that it is completely a diversified field. It is not constrained to some particular, like suppose if oil and gas engineer is there, so he is too much constrained to a particular equipment, and his job is constrained to one specific area. But for HSC guys, they have a very diversified scope.
Okay.
So friends, some of them, like I have talked about some of the oil and gas industries name as well. But if you go for FMCG, so my friends are working in Britannia Industries Limited right now. We are preferring online shoppings. People are there. My colleagues are there in Amazon India. So similarly, people are working in Tata projects, textile industries like Trident India Limited, and most of them got placement from UPS itself. So that is also one of the best thing, that UPS provides such a great platform that the students, those who are working hard, they get a good chance to enter themselves in a good company.
One more question that internet says that if you are a fire safety engineer,
Mhm.
the fire safety engineer salaries are, or you can say it is the highest paid job in US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Dubai. So, what is your experience? I think you have spent around 6 years in the industry. What your other colleague who have visited these places of, or they are working in these countries? So, whether it is correct or not, my just one question to you, that whether it is correct that people are getting higher salaries as compared to other engineers in Middle East or Australia and US. Yes.
Yes, means in this countries, the countries like you told, like in US, UK, or Dubai or Australia, HSC professionals are getting a handsome package there.
Hmm.
But still, I will say that even in India, people are having myth. The students are having myth that in India they cannot get a salary more than 25K per month. So it is just a myth. Means you have to just find a right company for you to work with. In India, I can say that most of the safety professionals in their initial stage can take a package of near about 15 to 16 lakhs per
Yes.
annum. So
Yes.
that is good amount in India.
Okay. So thanks a lot, Zafar. I think I will again move to Gil Saab, and then I will, because you people are involved in so many projects. So my question that uh, working with DMRC, which has major employment in civil engineering, field, being a single employer, I would request to highlight on the role and responsibility of civil and safety engineers in sustainable development.
Sir, like what I said, sir, initially, that the role of safety, especially when we talk about the metro project, is that we work on public roads, and public roads where we are sharing the same space with the general public. So there it is very important that not only for my own team members, I also am responsible to ensure safety of the citizen of that city. So in peacetime, I call it peacetime, because if I take out COVID scenario, then in peacetime, I have a huge responsibility of making sure that my work does not affect adversely the comforts and the safety aspect of the public which is living around me, those who are using the same space. So there the civil engineers have to construct the structures, have to undergo the challenge of deep underground tunneling in such a manner that they don't cause any inconvenience or any accident or any kind of loss to the public member. So it's a huge responsibility. During the lockdown period, the role of safety officer, I have already highlighted the aspect of a risk assessment. If
Yeah.
you don't do the risk assessment correctly for all your plant and machinery and your temporary structures which are standing for good about 6-8 weeks being unattended, and if you resume all of a sudden without the mandatory requirement of the inspection and correction, probably you will land into an accident. So no, none of us actually would wish and will be able to afford an accident. We have seen some unfortunate accidents in our industrial sector, but with the grace of God or all the good effort and good work which has been done, the construction projects have started slow, but they have started till now in an absolute safe manner. You don't hear or read any big news on any structure collapsing when the work was resumed. So role of civil engineer is very, very important, as Jafar has very rightly said, in every walk of life, in every field of engineering now, anything which affects your and my life. Today, the role of engineer is very important. And civil engineers is so important in our metro construction is because we have to live in a shared environment with public. I am not doing a hydroelectric dam in deep forest in an area which is not habitated. For all metros, I have to pass through a densely populated city. So therefore, civil engineers have to build structures without affecting the existing structures. So therefore, the skill set required for all these engineers who are undertaking such projects has to be very, very high.
So thanks. What is my understanding with both of you that role of civil engineer is very, very important because post-COVID, a lot of construction work is required. Even in between, we have seen so many disasters. Bridges are supposed to be made. Smart city concept is going to come. Roads are required. Economically weaker section houses are required. That is again required because we have seen a lot of migration from big cities to smaller areas or their own villages. So a lot of construction we can see in future. At the same time, we have seen the importance of fire and safety engineers, that they are uh, always there and they are supposed to be in future because of their role to make things safe, to see that we are getting all the things clean and safe, hygienically safe. I think a lot of role of fire and safety engineers there. Just for the audience purpose, I wish to highlight some of the features for fire and safety engineers and civil engineers. When we talk about fire and safety engineers, it is not only firefighting, it is a myth ideally. For firefighting, you require people who are actually 10th pass and maybe 6 months, 10 months training. Fire safety engineer role is very important to design the engineer that is safe. And the role of fire safety engineer start right from the consultancy, or you can say when you create a DPR, detailed project report, doing risk assessment, right? When we talk about insurance company, when a company gives you loan, they study that how safe you are, right? So insurance company, once they are doing your insurance, they will also see that whether you have taken all the precautions or not. You are required in mining sector, you are required in oil and gas sector, you are required in leather industries, metro construction, airport, shipping, every areas you required. At the same time, the people for this branch are very less as compared to the demand. So demand is very high. That is why we are getting very good placement, 100% core placement right from the beginning. And companies like big companies like Reliance, L&T, Vedanta, they are recruiting like anything. The packages are very high. And there are 3, 4 more things you should note down, that it is without gate, you can be absorbed by PSUs because of the low number of fire and safety engineers produced every year in India. And our most of the senior batches are working with PSUs like Indian Oil Corporation, IGL, Independence Gas Limited, uh, HP, then Nuclear Power Corporation, Delhi Metro. So that is the advantage you have. Without gate, you can be absorbed. And highest paid job in some of the countries which we have already highlighted. And as per the Act of 1948, every industry is supposed to have a fire and safety engineer. Even their signature is required to approve a 4-story building as per new National Building Code NBC code. So a lot of requirement is there. A number of people are less, so demand is very, very high. When we talk about civil engineers, again, it is the oldest branch required in each and every sectors. Excellent job opportunities. When we talk about our facilities, we have got excellent lab facilities here, and we are providing additional diploma in management. I think this may be shared by our enrollment team. And then we are doing also some of the additional certificate which are again in a requirement. So a lot of initiatives are taking place in these two areas. And when we talk about sustainability, I think there are certain questions. Prateek Singh has asked some question. I will see that we can share these questions with our expert, and then I can also give some of the answers. So one question from Prateek is sustainable development pollution free for us? That is a question. So Gil Saab, you wish to give this answer?
Yeah. Why not? Why not? You see, when I talk about sustainability, you have in your opening remark had said that to fulfill the need of present and making sure that our needs in future are also met. So naturally, the environmental degradation has to stop. The environment preservation has to happen, and then going back to nature is so important. So naturally the pollution is a very big role in when we talk about sustainability, control of pollution. And we have seen that during this COVID time there have been reports of rivers getting little more cleaner, the air getting much more cleaner because of the industrial pollution coming down. But that is not the solution for environment protection. We, through the art of sustainable development, the science of sustainable development, the engineering of sustainable development, we have to devise ways of making sure that these pollutions and pollutants have to actually be controlled. One more thing which is also very, very important, which this particular experience has shown us, is that going back to the nature. You see, our ancient homes and houses, you go to any environment of Rajasthan or any area which is experiencing high temperature, our earlier construction used to cater for so much of natural ventilation and cooling, and our modern construction has actually forgotten the art of it, the kind of the construction material which was being used, the kind of the philosophy of design of houses which was being used. Now today, in a building which is totally sealed from glass panels, all windows are closed, you can't work without a centralized air conditioned. And on resumption with a centralized air condition, the threat or the suspicion or the doubt or the anxiety of spread of infection through this system always exists. So that is what sustainable development say. When you develop, you also talk about how we will be able to sustain it for long and in future. So definitely I totally agree with the person who has asked this question. It is directly related to the environment pollution and nature preservation.
Thank you. Second question is, what is the scope of HSC engineering as I have pursued BTech in fire and safety engineering? I think I will ask with Zafar that you can give this answer with fire safety and MTech HSC. Just tell what may happen.
So
Combination.
yes, so the guy, he has done BTech in fire and safety and MTech in HSC, right?
Is planning, I think something is, or HSC engineering as a career. Broadly, it is same. Yeah.
Okay, so yes, I have earlier also I've answered the same question. Just keep away the myth that being HSC, you won't get a good package or something like that. You are going to get a handsome amount, And as I told earlier, that companies have now started to recognize that management system, they are able to prevent the loss for their organization. And apart from this, a different kind of awareness sessions, like if we talk about the kite, or even in oil and gas industry, the operators or the workers, those who are working, some are unskilled, and you need to give them the more training for awareness session. Like presently, we are working in Barmer field, and here there is of S2S, because we are drilling to a depth of like more than 3,000 feet. So unless and until you are creating an awareness among the unskilled people, and letting them know about the hazards of the location, and this you are trying to you are training them, and creating more awareness. Apart from being an HSC, you have to do audits, you have to do inspections. Presently, in the
So
wake
overall,
of
you want to say,
COVID-19 special
Zafar, that
drills,
it is a big career ahead. So once you complete your B.Tech Fire and Safety Engineering, you have a very good career and you can work with all the sectors. So next question I
yes,
will take, with the upcoming
yes.
recession after lockdown. I think this is a after the job aspects in fire and safety jobs. Yeah. So I think I will give this question to Gil Saab, that his question is related to what will be the impact of this lockdown for fire and safety engineer job. I think we were talking a lot on this line, but still you can give that.
Yeah, you see, there is no denying the fact that this COVID or this pandemic will have adverse effect on employability. There is no denying this fact. But this is a universal phenomena, and this is a short-lived. I am very confident that this is a short-lived. This has to be short-lived in terms of the requirement of health and safety officers, and as well as I think that those who are involved in infrastructure project, because nations, societies, and cultures have to progress. We have to survive out of this difficult period, and then regroup, and then stand up again. So this is a temporary phenomena. We can't, I can't say that we will remain immune to this. There have to be an impact, but I am very confident that this will be short lived, because the requirement of the safety, health and safety engineer will continue. The requirement of engineering profession to rebuild will continue. It's just a matter of patience. In difficult time, in rainy days, you have to face challenges. So these challenges, and then we know monsoon has a life, that for 2 months or 3 months it will rain, and then we will have a bright sunshine. So I am very, very optimistic. I feel that in next 3 months or 4 months of time, and definitely from next calendar year, we will definitely have bright sunshine. Definitely.
And I wish to add some of the things. Please remember, when we talk about safety, nowadays you are talking about that once you are going to the clinic, what you should do. Once you are going for some test, what you should do. Just imagine. And the doctors cures you once you reach to him. The role of fire and safety engineer is very, very big. Try to understand. He used to maintain the industry in a safe manner, or he used to create an environment where everybody is working safely. So just imagine. And it is not only the people who are working inside, he's also maintaining the safety of the people who are living in the surrounding. So the tragedy like Bhopal cannot be repeated. So the role of fire and safety engineer is very, very important. Even it is much higher than a role of a doctor. Try to understand. So he's maintaining all the safety things. So you are getting a product which should be safe. People who are working, how they should be free of contaminants while they are going back to their home. So lot of work is done by fire and safety engineers. And the concern or the people who are talking about this scenario of jobs, I think we are talking uh, after 4 years. Once you are coming out, it may take 4 years time. So this COVID-19 may be maybe another 4 months, 6 months, once the vaccine is out, I think a lot of changes will come again, and you will find that people need more and more safer environment. And when you talk about safer environment, the role of fire and safety engineer always increases. A civil engineer role always increases, because they are the people who are going to create a sustainable world. Okay. So I think I will take other question also.
I just want to.
One more question. It is important to do MTech in HSC to get a good job, or only BTech is in FSC sufficient to get a good job? I think I should give this answer, because I am seeing all these uh, students who have passed in last 6, 7 batches. So see, actually you are getting an advantage, because people who do other BTech program and then they realize that safety is again a very good line, they used to come and do these MTech in health safety environment. But if you are going for BTech fire and safety engineering, you are actually ahead with other students who are doing BTech in other branches and then coming for MTech in HSC. So once you will be here, or the law which is passed for Uttarakhand or Uttar Pradesh by Labor Commissioner, it is clear that if you are having BTech fire and safety engineering or MTech in health safety environment, both are equivalent. Even Zafar is sitting here, he knows that in the same companies, fire and safety engineers people appeared and MTech health safety environment people appear. Although there was slight difference between the salaries, because you have advantage of this 2 year experience, or maybe you can say that you are doing your MTech. So that way there is a change in salary, but it's not much. So BTech fire safety engineering is enough to get a good job and to get good promotion. So not much worry after you complete your BTech only. So maybe another question I will go. He's asking one question, Mr. Gill, directly. Please speak on the future of transportation industry post COVID-19. What are the changes you are likely to see, and how does it affect the business generally?
I think that I have already answered this. I
Yeah.
said there is going to be a big impact initially in the mass transportation. When you are going for mass transportation, people will, for the first few months or for initial few days, people will be little reluctant for traveling in a big crowd, and this has been a global phenomenon. All experienced and professional transporters are aware of it. That is why I said that if you are traveling long distances, people will prefer air travel, because your exposure time is much lesser. So those who can afford would definitely love to travel long distances through air travel, so that you reduce the
Okay.
journey time. But I am very confident that this is a phenomena which is not going to last for years together. I just take you back to many years back when we have the HIV/AIDS scare. We know that we have learned how to live with it. We don't have absolute vaccines or treatment for those challenges also, but we, with precautions, uh, with all the knowledge which we have, the mankind have learned how to live with those viruses or those problems, health issues. Similarly, corona will the civilization, the mankind will develop, and then people will come back to their normal life. It is a matter of patience. We all, as engineers and as organizations, have to keep patient and then bring back that confidence into the populace that this is a safe mode of transport. And globally, it will happen. In our country also, it will happen sooner or later.
Okay. The next question: will MTech in HSC engineering will change my career prospects in fire and safety officer, or will I be limited to safety aspects only? Should give the answer, because I am having a, you can say, wide experience in placing a student right from 2004 up to 2020. See, please do not confuse with that. You will be confined to one area. Depending upon the requirement in the industries, depending upon the sector you are absorbed, they will giving you different responsibility. For example, one of my alumni, BTech Fire and Safety, he has written to me that now he's basically looking after the risk assessment or your crisis management for COVID-19. So sometimes your designation is as per the requirement. It is not that you will get only one designation. There are people who are working as a fire safety engineer. Their designation in some companies, it is HSC engineer, HSC officer, occupational safety and health officer. So it depends upon the industry. So don't confuse with these things, right? Based
Sir,
on the industry, based on the
sir,
requirement, your role will be different.
if I can add, if
Yeah, yeah.
for your help, my first initial 17 years of safety participation has been a fire scientist.
Hmm.
I worked for defense R&D organization, and my core competence and specialization was fire and explosives. And then from the last 12-year plus, I'm into construction. So you are absolutely correct and spot on when you say it is a requirement. My basic principle of safety management are universally same. You have to adapt yourself, and I know many success stories where people have very successfully adapted to new challenges, and that is the very important trait and the capability of safety engineer to take up challenges.
Just for the person who has asked this question, one of my colleague, he was working with ISRO earlier. So he was involved in the safety of these operations, right? One of our MTech student was working with airport, right? When I spent 2 years time, so all these areas you see that people are working. Then there's one more question. Do fire engineers have much value in society? Yeah, that is a good question. See, a person who is actually involved in saving thousands of people life. Please remember, it is not firefighting. It is through his design. It is through his vision that how to make industry safe. What will be the safe distance from a particular location of storage of chemical storage, right? So he's playing a very important role. He's respected like anything, right? And he's a
Right.
unique at the same time. There may be
Yeah,
industry where you will have so many engineers, but you
sir,
may,
I know,
yeah,
sir, I know in most of the advanced country in Europe, if you
yeah.
are traveling in a public transport and you are standing and people come to know that you are a firefighter, you are offered a privileged seat. People stand up for you and you are offered to sit. So that is the level of respect and recognition which the society give. In India, things have drastically changed, and firefighters are also being valued a lot. Yes.
Okay. One of I don't know, I'm a student of fire and safety engineering. My question tell about some work permit system and sewage plant. So should I answer this or maybe Zafar, you should answer because maybe I will explain these things to him again once he's here. Work permit system.
Yeah, work permit system. So as per the guidelines of OSD 105, there are different work permit systems. So to execute any work, we need, like, if there is something we are working, there is a chances of sparks, or there is a chances of some we are conducting some hot job. So we need a work permit for that. And for daily routine work, or we are doing something where there is no spark or there is no chances of fire, so we have the cold permit. So similarly, we are having, when we do some work in confined space, for that we are having confined space certificates. So in a similar way, when you do a job in a workplace, like suppose if I give an example of oil and gas industry, so every morning we are having a permit system. The crew, when there is a shift change, the crew comes, he fills the permit. The last permit is closed, and then the permit goes for the 12 hours. Similarly, when the handover is done from day shift to the night shift crew, they just close the permit, inform each and everything. There is a lot inside the PTW system which need to be followed and which need to be cross-checked near the place where the actually the job is going to be done. So this is all about the work permit system, and it is common
Second portion, I think I will give
industry.
the answer. Yeah. See, I think Zafar has already given the example of permit to work system. Please remember, this is very important exercise, because or in absence of work permit system, a small accident or incident may be converted into a big disaster. And it has been in the past, there's a big oil and gas accident because of this only work permit system. The second portion which you have talked about, sewage treatment plant. Again, for a domestic waste, you need to have a sewage treatment plant. And for industrial waste, you should have a effluent treatment plant or ETP. The second is STP, right? So there are different methods of treating these waste. So based on your input, you have to design your sewage treatment plant. Okay. So let me take some other answer. Some of maybe our student have asked Ayush Chandola, maybe you can talk to me directly. It will be better if you talk, because the question which you have asked, skill is required everywhere. See, you need to be very good in whatever you learn. Then only people will recognize you. So once you are going out of the campus, let us see that you learn everything. Whatever we have taught, maybe practically, theoretically, by applying your knowledge. So a lot of things are required. So I hope once you are going out, you will be having all the skills. Also, sir, petrochemical industries. Yes, please remember, fire and safety required everywhere, but the most important or the most required area is oil and gas sector. So it is for sure. Function of various ingredients, sir, please suggest me PhD topic. I think for these questions which are not directly related to these areas, I think we should take these questions. I will request my colleagues to note down these questions, and maybe we can answer these by writing these people, or maybe our number can be shared and then we can talk directly, because these are the some of the senior people who are talking on these areas. Any risk assessment for industrial pollution control engineering show down chemical plants? I think the question is not clear, but I will still tell you that you have to do risk assessment for every industrial activities, right? You do some of the activities at the initial stage of plant, and you do a lot of risk assessment based on accidents, scenario, accident rates. People are complaining about their occupational health problem or any other issues, or you change your process, change in law, right, or change in location. So risk assessment is done at each and every level, right? So I think we have given most of the answer, and yeah. So thanks a lot for patience hearing. People who were with us for I think around 1 hour. So we tried to explain you that how a nation can reach to a sustainable development, or they can continue their sustainable development activities. And COVID-like situation, or maybe cyclone, earthquake, a lot of things will happen in future, but we should be ready. And for the preparation of these uh, scenario, we need to have different kinds of engineers, and civil engineers play a very important role because of their involvement in right from house making, road making, to providing clean water to you, making bridges. A lot of activities is done by civil engineers. At the same time, role of fire safety engineers cannot be denied in producing safe things for you, providing safe construction, providing safe storage, and they are involved right from the beginning of any project execution. And both the engineers are very important to see that we are developing, but we are developing in a sustainable manner. Once again, thanks a lot, people who have joined. Uh, Thanks for your valuable questions. We try to give answers for your questions. Any other questions, please write to our enrollment department or the people who are involved, and we'll try to give your answers and satisfy your queries. Thanks to Mr. Gill for sparing this time. Mr. Zafar, also, we are thankful to you for giving us time, helping us in giving answers to the participant, the uh, people who were present with us. So thanks a lot.